Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Gaming the System. Today, my guest is my good friend Carmel. For
Ahoy.
which, for intensive purposes, I have to use your actual name, and I don't want
Yeah,
to.
no, it's awkward. I don't think you've used my actual name in 10 years.
My guest this week, Carmel, aka published author and black metal musician Callum Jones.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. I'm good.
For the sake of my own sanity, that is the only time I'm going to use that name.
Yeah, it sounded odd, like you actually saying my name.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's one for the show notes. It'd be brackets. His name is Callum, really.
We just never use it.
It would feel weird to start now. So yeah,
Yeah, no.
just while we get into the swing of things, can you tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So I've had my own black metal project for 11 years now, called Abandoned by Light, which I've released a number of albums on. I can't count off the top of my head. I've been in a couple of other music projects as well. And earlier this year, I released a book on Amazon called Knocking in the Dark, which is a collection of short Lovecraftian cosmic horror stories, which I wrote working night shifts at an old job.
The best time.
Yeah, nothing else to be doing.
And don't worry,
4 o'clock in the morning.
we'll have a lot of time to talk about black metal and horror, and I imagine eldritch terrors and Lovecraftian, all that kind of stuff. So buckle in, kids. It's going to be an intense hour or so.
All your favorite jolly-go-lucky topics.
Just make sure you listen at exactly 2:15 a.m. and make sure to watch out the window the whole time.
Yeah, and if something taps you on the shoulder, don't turn around.
On about turning around, have you seen Terrifier 3?
I have not seen any of the Terrifier films. That's a little bit of a shame. Like they keep popping up on like social media. I'm like, oh, that I'll watch that, and then I just never do.
Because
But I know
I
the new one's out now, and it's knocked Joker 2 off the charts.
literally the first episode we did, a good 20 minutes was just spent lambasting Joker 2. It's so fucking bad.
I'm not even going to entertain watching it.
It's so
I saw
bad
the
that
first
it's
one.
it's going to digital, right? Like it's literally going to be out on streaming and physical and digital the end of this month. That's
I'll
how
probably watch
fucking
it in 10 years' time when it pops up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a thing.
which is a shame because the original Joker is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I loved the first one. The first one was brilliant. And then they just looked at it and went, let's do the exact opposite and have Joaquin Phoenix sing. That can't go wrong.
Which is weird because he was actually quite a good singer in Walk the Line, where he did his best Johnny Cash impression. That was quite good.
Was that Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
To be fair, I've not seen that film in years. I'd
I think
forgotten.
it literally came out like 20 years ago. So
Bloody hell. I'd not even clocked that was Joaquin Phoenix. All right, I'd take that singing bit back. The man's actually not bad.
and on that subject, brief tangent, right? But one of my favorite actors of all time is Pierce Brosnan.
I like Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, I like Pierce Brosnan. My favorite Bond. He's done some really good movies. And people say to me, "Oh, Mamma Mia, he was terrible. He can't sing." And I go, "Hey, watch Evelyn. He sings in that, and he's great."
He's not the worst in Mamma Mia, though.
No, that's the
Like,
crazy thing. Like, not even by a long shot. Genuinely.
yeah, like I wouldn't want him to like narrate my life with that singing, but far from terrible. Far from terrible.
Yeah, it's
I've not seen
crazy.
Evelyn, so I can't compare to that. But
Evelyn is so good. A very underrated movie. Irish classic, that is. But yeah,
we're
getting
now just
back.
two black metal musicians discussing Mamma Mia.
There you go. You never thought you'd see that on a Thursday night or Wednesday night, whenever the fuck this goes
I have
up.
no idea what day of the week it is.
It's one of them. There are
It ends in day.
there are 7 days. It'll be on one of them. Don't worry. But yeah,
We're just-
Terrifier 3, right? So very briefly, because I want to put the amount of effort into talking about Terrifier 3 as Damien Leone took to write the movie. So
I'm guessing just stabby, stabby, stab in various grotesque ways.
the scariest part of Terrifier 3 is the runtime. It's 2 hours 20 minutes,
Aren't they just slasher films?
essentially.
How can you have something like that is literally one format of I'm going to sneak up on this unsuspecting teenager and horrifically gut them for 2.5 hours?
I don't
There's only
know,
so many
but
ways you can skin a cat, literally.
the madman found a way. The thing is, the first Terrifier, the first one from 2016, I want to say, was a long time ago. It's pretty good. So, Damien Leone, he took his character from All Hallows Eve and the Ninth Circle. He's not a demon. He's not an entity that comes out of a videotape. Blah blah blah. It's pretty cool. The problem being though, Terrifier, the first Terrifier happens. It's a whole thing. Terrifier 2 rolls around, and instead of being the first Terrifier, which is an hour 20 minutes long, pure action, very minimal bloats, the second movie, which is I think even longer than Terrifier 3, by like 10-15 minutes, they shoehorn so much unnecessary bullshit into it. There's this whole like secondary plot, this whole like family, this kid. There's like 30 to 40 minutes a piece where you don't see the guy, where nothing really happens outside of like some ultra violence breaking it up. Very weirdly paced movie. But ironically, people love the second one, they like the third one, but they're still like maligned about the original, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, because if you're watching like horror and it's like a demonic possession or some supernatural thing, like you normally get that whole like setup where you're like establishing what you're dealing with, the exposition about how this is some demon from the ninth circle of hell that must be summoned on a blood moon, blah 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 blah. If you're watching a slasher, you just want some guy in a mask to literally be killing people in inventive and creative ways, using a knife in a way you'd have never considered as a sane individual, without the extra crap. The first Halloween, you don't spend 45 minutes just like constructing Michael Myers. It's you watch him at the beginning, kill his sister, and then after that, it's he's escaped, he's gonna kill you.
Exactly.
Like no extra rubbish. The slasher doesn't need to be complicated.
No. And I think like that's the thing, because the two sequels betray what was so good about the original, which was they were running it kind of as their own kind of ideas. Like it was so straightforward, and then they overcomplicate. It's the same problem like the Halloween movies, right? So the first Halloween, landmark masterpiece. I think a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah.
But then like Season of the Witch, complicated shit. They had like H2O, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. It just kept getting complicated. They kept adding unnecessary shit. The Rob Zombie reboots came out. People hated those. I mean, I thought there were redeeming elements to them, but by the by. For the 2018 movie to come out, basically go, okay, you know what, fuck all the expanded universe shit. We're going to pretend like it was just the first movie. Fast forward to this one. This is where this movie takes place. And then Halloween Kills, the direct sequel, complicated shit. Halloween Ends, further complicated shit. I don't understand. Why not just make it as straightforward as you can? Take us for the ride, hour and a half, hour 45. No bullshit. All killer, no filler. Literally, that's all you had to do.
But that's the bit that's appealing, because whenever they reboot these things, they strip them back, because they learn eventually that the thing that's killed it is by trying to do too much, trying to add in all the stuff in. And I can imagine, like, as a director, like you're making a new film, you don't want to just repeat it. So you start going, right, what can I do now? Let's flesh out this bit, let's flesh out that bit, let's add something new here. But just do it minimally. Like, if you want to develop a character a little bit, like give a tiny bit more like backstory to Jason or something like that, that's fine. But when you start going into the like that is now half your film, that's when you start to lose your audience a bit, because they're not there for that. They're not there to learn that Jason had a really rough time doing his A levels and asked a girl out. She said no, and that did this and that, and then he was kicked out of his flat in his mid-20s. Well, like, you don't want all that. You just want him to go, right, Jason, he's a bit of a nutter, really, and that's why he's got that mask.
That's all it has to be.
Yeah.
The fact that they made essentially 9 movies with very minimal character development for Jason. He didn't have to be a character. He just had to be Kane Hodder with a big knife.
Yeah, even when he's like gone to hell and then been dragged back, like, I can run with that. Because that's not.
Yeah, and it's like, how did he end up in space? Like, he just did. Who cares?
Yeah, it's like brilliant. Like, as long as you can get it done in 10 minutes, like, you got dragged to hell here, hell spat him back out. Fantastic. Where's the camp full of teenagers?
Exactly. Same with like Freddy versus Jason. Why is Freddy here? Why is Jason here? Who cares? Alien versus Predator. They're both here now. Why? Who gives a shit? It's just happening.
Tell us in the first 15 minutes and then get on with the film.
100%.
Don't want half an hour in the middle where you stop the killing and stop the bloodshed to explain this esoteric crap that you've pulled out of some like GCSE kids English project to shoehorn in an explanation that nobody asked for.
People trying to get their creative writing degrees just sat there like, well, he needs a motivation. He needs a backstory. Why does he kill? Who does he kill? What happened? You remember that tractor kill? Yeah, where did he get that tractor from? Let's do 5 movies where he gets the keys.
Right. And then we're going to take you down this little, like, reboot spin-off series, Building a Tractor. You want to know where the tractor came from? We're going to tell you where the tractor came from and how this one tractor had to be there.
Who developed the tires? Let's find out.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's go down the entire family history back to the first tire that was ever made and how it led to this moment.
I got really upset, genuinely, because with the Terrifier movies, I liked the first one. It's like a 7 out of 10, whatever. It's good. But I never saw Terrifier 2. At least not until very recently. There was a double bill on. So it was Terrifier 1, Terrifier 2. It was like 4 hours back to back. That's too long to see Terrifier. Because the first movie, hour 20, it's done. Second movie, 2.5 hours straight after. You get desensitized to the meaningless violence by that point.
Yeah, when you've got a runtime like that, like some things work for it. Like the extended Lord of the Rings films, they work for that format because it's a constant development. You're moving forward. Even if you do spend half an hour staring at one tree in Fangorn going, that's a bloody lovely tree, that. You keep moving forward. But when you've got something like a slasher, which is very one note, keep it going. It's just, we are going to take this entire street of people and kill them. Like, there's not much room for maneuverability there. You've not got much scene changing. You've not got much plot movement. It's this person killing you. You're running away. Oh, they found you. You're running away again. They found you. They killed your friend. You're running away again. In 4 hours of that, like you say, you get desensitized. You're going to lose the shock's gone.
That was the thing, because with Terrifier 2, there's a scene pretty much quite near the beginning where this woman kind of gets followed home. She's trick-or-treating. Art the Clown kind of invades. He scalps her. He makes like angel wings out of her back. Okay, that could have been cool if I walked into this movie 10 minutes ago and I hadn't been kind of seeing this for 2 hours beforehand anyway.
Yeah. It's like why you wouldn't watch all the Saw films. Like, you'd watch...
To an extent, but at least the Saw films had... Okay, so the Saw movies, the narrative of like the police procedural got slowly
to be fair, that's a bad example because I'd forgot the whole other half of Saw.
No, but at least with Saw, genuinely, it scaled up with how much kind of police and like DEA involvement outside of like Jigsaw, Hoffman, Amanda. With like
I'd forgotten that half of it when I mentioned maybe Final Destination would be a better example or something like that, where it's very one shot after the other thing. I'd forgotten the whole like police side of Saw. I was thinking about needle pits and like rats in the eyes.
I forgot that with the needle pit in Saw 2, genuinely, when they filmed that scene, they threw her in. Some of those needles were real, which is crazy.
It's just nuts. But imagine a film where it was just needle pit after needle pit after needle pit. You wouldn't enjoy that for like hours.
No.
Like things like that work because they're like they're shocking. They're one-off little things. Like you wouldn't enjoy a film which is just a bunch of girls getting thrown into various needle pits, which is what your slashes become after a while if your film's not pacey enough.
Exactly. I mean, when I think back to like Jason X, the only thing I can remember, thinking back to a movie I've seen a few times over the last 15 years, he dunks the woman's head in liquid nitrogen and then smashes it.
That sounds like
it's a
it's like
great
a
scene.
Mortal Kombat move.
I mean, he was also in Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah, no, it was true.
MKX alongside Leatherface, the Predator, Alien. And they were all really well done. They never did Michael Myers, though. That was the one that they could have done, but just didn't.
Maybe they couldn't get the rights to, because isn't he been sold off to what's that? It's the online RPG where you play as killers and survivors.
Oh, Dead by Daylight.
That's the one.
Yeah.
They've got him. So maybe they couldn't have the rights to both.
That makes sense. Because weirdly enough, so MK1, they had the Scream villain, Ghostface.
Yeah.
That's a weird inclusion for that roster. They had the Ghostface killer and the fucking T-1000 as DLC.
God, yeah, Terminator was in that.
Because they had Arnie, they had the T-800 in MK11. But then why wouldn't you have done the T-1000 in that game? Had the face-off instead of having the T-1000 completely unrelated in a game which mechanics don't really suit him. Crazy.
Yeah, a whole Mortal Kombat style thing doesn't really work for that. Yeah, it's a weird inclusion. I don't know what board meeting where they went, do you know who we need to get? Arnie. Our game's missing Arnie.
Thing is, like they had the opportunity. So in MK11, you have Rambo, like Stallone, you have Arnie T-800. That was the face-off that was worth doing. But the problem is the way they implemented Arnie, it's like legendarily bad. Poor moveset, really bad animations. He doesn't even voice the character. It's a really bad impression of Arnie. I could do a better Arnold Schwarzenegger impression than that guy in the fucking game, genuinely.
I've not heard it. I dread to. Well, I've not heard the game one.
For sure.
No, why would you do it if you couldn't get the voice?
I don't know. They did it to Anthony Starr as well with Homelander. It's not him either.
Why would you have a character if you couldn't get the voice?
I know, which is weird because they managed to get J.K. Simmons to do Omni-Man from Invincible.
But especially like Arnold Schwarzenegger's like a very iconic voice. Like Homelander, from the bit of that show that I've seen a handful of episodes, like you could probably, he's not got a unique voice. You could probably get a decent impressionist, but Arnold Schwarzenegger's got quite a iconic voice.
Like you could clock him from a mile away.
Yeah, like when it's Arnie, when it's a fake. Like he's just one of those voices that you recognize.
To think like, yeah, we can save the budget. We don't have to get Arnold for this, which is so weird because they had the face model. It looks the same, doesn't sound the same, doesn't act the same. Very weird inclusion, genuinely.
Yeah, no, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall at that meeting. Like, oh, we've got our super hyper murder fest game ready. We just need a special character. Someone just goes, Terminator? From the back of the room. Like, give that man a raise.
Literally. I mean, what was his other choice? The guy from fucking Jingle All the Way. Bring in fucking Kindergarten Cop.
Is that or Krampus?
At least Krampus was a little bit scary. Speaking of scary, let's talk about The Knocking in the Dark.
Segway.
I am good at these segues. Did you know that the man who invented the Segway died riding a Segway off a cliff? It's true.
That can't be true.
It is. I swear to God.
That's true. That's fantastically hilarious and the worst piece of advertising I've ever heard.
Whenever I hear the word Segway, I just think about a guy just plummeting to his death. Some poor.
That's what I'm gonna think now. Like that's a proper like drop a like little party tidbit fact. Ah, you want to know a fact about segways?
some like poor bloke going off like the Isle of Wight, just like clutching two handlebars at like 12 miles an hour. Why not jump off? They're not that fast.
No, like yeah, that's it. Like you'd have had plenty of opportunity, and there's yeah, they really don't go that fast. And if you're near a
No.
cliff, it's not exactly smooth terrain. Like you probably had plenty of opportunity. What was distracting him?
Hey guys, check out the Segway. I got new off-road tires. Oh
Yeah.
fuck, the brakes don't work. Shit.
Oh, if only there was something I could do about this right now. Like step off.
It's like that one fucking Simpsons bit where Bart's mocking the street cleaner. And
God, oh,
he's watching him out the window, and he drives over the bike, and then he turns around to laugh at him, and he falls in that manhole cover, and
yeah.
it cuts back like 8 fucking times.
I was just thinking of that bit in Deadpool where he's on like
I'm gonna kill you in 10 minutes.
yeah, where he's on the ice rink like scraper in like the slowest vehicle. God, can you imagine that fucking
Break out the
Segway guy's
Zamboni.
funeral? Segway guy's funeral, like, oh, he died doing what he loved,
Selling
riding
crap,
his Segway.
selling crap vehicles to the middle class.
Yeah, and oh, fucking riding it off a cliff.
So yeah, talk me through The Knocking in the Dark. So I've read it. I mean, I read a good chunk of it, you know, in the kind of sub period anyway, you know, before I got the physical version, which I have. And don't worry, folks, check the show notes. There'll be an Amazon link. You can buy it in hardback. You can buy it paperback. You can buy it on a Kindle if you're one of those people. Or, you know, you could have a
But I
tangible
wonder
thing.
those people.
You could have a tangible real book on your desk if you want. Or you could get a PDF of it from Amazon. Your choice.
I'm happy anyway, whichever way.
Give
But
Carmel some money.
um, well, Amazon will take most of it anyway. But
Give
yeah,
Carmel most of the money.
a little bit of the money. Nah, honestly, it started off just as like a little bit of a fun thing. Like the first story, like I set off with just the idea of just writing like a one-off little thing just for fun. Like I've been deep diving a load of like Lovecraft stories and various other works like surrounding that sort of like cosmic horror thing, and just thought I used to write loads when I was younger, like little just stories here and there, various like things like nothing ever amounting to much, obviously, like you just like kids fun. But I thought I'd give it a try. Got inspired with an idea for the first story, the knocking in the dark, the title titular story. Wrote out over a week or two, just like started at home and then on night shifts when I was working. Really, really enjoyed it. Read it to my other half. She liked it. I had ideas for more, and then over a period of a couple of years, I got the 6 stories together that formed the book. Like, on and off periods of working on it, then going back and editing and changing bits and having like random ideas at the most inconvenient times when I could do absolutely nothing about it, making little notes on my phone, and then it got together early this year, finished it up, and then accidentally saved over that version and finished it twice.
Oh no. That's the thing I'm dreading with. So I'm writing a book of my own. And I really should be putting more work into that. Every weekend kind of comes and goes. And I'm like, fuck, I need to do like 2,000 words. Got a deadline for publishing.
I'd have like weeks where I didn't look at the book at all, like, and then I'd have a week where I was working on it every day. Like, you can't force inspiration, as it were.
No, you really can't. But yeah, so it's going to talk me through. So the 6 stories. You know, what were your kind of inspirations? Like, did you have any kind of I know it sounds kind of cliche, but sometimes like people can have dreams or be walking alone at night, see something in the back of their peripheral vision. Was there anything that kind of kick-started any of the kind of stories within this book?
Um, for the most part, no, they were just like random ideas that would come. Like I'd have like a bit of a thought for one, like the story that the one that's set in the psychiatric ward. I'm going to try and do this without going into any spoiler details. That came to me randomly, like halfway through just a work day. And then by the time I got around to writing it, I changed it 3 or 4 times in my head, like the actual plot. Like the original version of that story goes quite differently. And then a couple of the other ones just came to me like usually it'd be like late, like sort of evening ideas, or like I used to work a bunch of night shifts. Like I'd have an idea while I was like working at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd have one thought, I'd jot that down, and then I'd spend the rest of the shift developing that idea in my head. Like, how could I do this? And then I'd get to the next day, realize that at 6 o'clock in the morning I was super sleep deprived and hated that idea now. And then I'd change it up. But there was no like really like inspirational moments. It was just little ideas that came here and there that I would work on for a while before I started writing it. And then even while I was writing it, they would change parts of it. I'd go back and rewrite other bits. The only real idea I had was that I didn't want to use Cthulhu for like the first few stories, because if you're talking Lovecraft, that is such an easy drop character, as it were, because it's the instantly recognizable one that everybody knows. And I didn't want to like. I wanted to challenge myself to not immediately go to like like Cthulhu, basically, like because I'd be competing with 1,000 other stories that had Cthulhu.
That almost seems like
Picture books, maybe.
you kind of come away with like a self-imposed challenge of, okay, I don't want to go for the obvious, but from
Mm.
reading the story, there definitely are those elements where kind of the creeping darkness is. It's a lot more insidious. That's what I like about your writing style. A lot of it, you kind of read the subtext and then it kind of creeps in on you. So I found genuinely when I read the first story, this is before it was even a book, and I read it the first time, I went to bed sharp as fuck that night.
you
I
you
was,
got the first draft.
I was like, oh, I went to the gym that night after reading it on the computer, like after work, and I was, it was dark, and I was just there, like looking around, like kept checking over my shoulder. I was like brushing my teeth in the dark. I couldn't quite look at the mirror the same way. Very effective stuff, genuinely.
Well, thank you. You flatter me.
Too scary. But no,
No,
genuinely. Oh no, you go. Sorry.
no. So I was just thinking, like, it's a weird one to write because if you're trying to write that sort of style of Lovecraftian or cosmic, like, it's trying to capture that essence of insignificant smallness, like trying to like get the idea of like humans are really just absolutely nothing, and then trying to create like a dread or like a feeling of powerlessness and hopelessness without immediately just dropping a 10-foot alien in front of them and going, "Ain't you fucking shit?"
Well, that's the worst part. I mean, it's almost like you have to have a kind of ego death. You're gonna realize with kind of cosmic horror. Do you feel like you have kind of a little bit of like darkness and like horror within you, like intrinsic darkness?
Um, I mean, I've always been drawn that way. Like even like when I was a kid, like I was always fascinated with like villains and bad guys and monsters. And then growing up, I got quite into like demonology and occultism, and like I'll always have like little YouTube deep dives into like different like folklore of like various cultures and stuff. And I'm always drawn to like the darker things, yeah. Like you said, the dark thing, the horror things, the like inspiration behind like gruesome legends and stories. I mean, I don't know if it's like the darkness within, but there's definitely an appeal, an allure.
So tell us, just for the sake of people listening, where did the name Carmel come from?
That is a ring wraith from Lord of the Rings. Like the only other one apart from the Witch King that receives a name. I changed the spelling up to make it my own. But yeah, that's where that comes from because nobody's ever used a Tolkien inspired thing in black metal before, and I wanted to get there before the idea spread.
See, I went to Oslo a few months ago. I went to Helvet. I went into the
Very
basement.
jealous.
Yeah, I went into the basement and I saw the black metal wall, Hellhammer's war paints, the old workout gear. Very good that it's even still around after the fire. People were telling me,
Yeah,
oh, it
no.
burnt down. The basement is completely fucked, but you could still go there. You could still see it.
I really, when I saw that it caught fire, like I assumed that the entire thing was gone. Like I was just thinking, like, shit, because it's on my bucket list. It is on my bucket list to go and like pose cringely in that basement.
I mean, yeah, you have to. If you're into this kind of shit, you have to, right?
Yeah, bring a cloak and like a fake weapon and do some like cringy poses.
Well, I find the thing with black metal is some of it is cringe as fuck. Like
Yeah,
the theatricality of it, like the fact that like even the idea of like corpse paint. Sometimes it's done really well. Other times, it's done lesser.
every time you start black metal, you straddle the line between that's really cool and that is cringy as hell. And you do not know every time you put that paint and spike on which side of the line you are going to land on. It is anybody's game. You can be the coolest looking band in all of Scandinavia 1 minute,
Or you can be
and then
immortal.
yeah, or you can be immortal. But to be fair, immortal get away with it a little bit more because they openly embrace the goof. But it's like you look at some old pictures of a band like Dimmu Borgir,
Or the
and
guy with the fucking top hat.
yeah, and you're just like, did you like? Were you being ironic? Like Immortal running around the woods in like children's fancy dress wizard gear, that is definitely ironic.
Has to be.
Has to be. There's no way they came in that and went, "That's a look. That's brilliant."
But then where does like Cradle of Filth kind of go on that line then?
I don't know because I feel like they are aware. They. I feel like they're aware.
Danny
That
Filth is definitely aware. In
Danny
fact, you
Filth is
have
definitely aware.
you have this 4'8" guy wearing stilts on stage.
Yeah, I think the thing with Cradle of Filth is that they know that they're a meme. They know that they are like that band that gets bandied around, and they just don't really care. They're like, do you know what? You all think we're a joke. I know we're a bit tongue in cheek, but I'm super into this goth shit, so I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to make a video. And at the end of the day, I've got 4 people around me who are touring the world. I've got all these like 20-year-old goth girls throwing themselves around gigs every single night. You don't, I win.
There you go. See, I kind of feel like Carrick Angren have kind of become not that I've really heard a lot of them for a while, but they kind of had the transition from like super serious black metal bands to a bit kind of taking the piss out of themselves. The last like 2 albums, maybe 3.
I think they've always done it a little bit. They had that. I mean, I've got the shirt. The one was the corpse painted faces on the front, so it looks like, oh wow, yes, this is very, very cool, very like true cult black metal shirt. And on the back, it just says, "You came to the wrong forest, motherfucker."
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think they may have wanted to go into this with like the like we are like a mysterious, cool mass black metal band thing, and then very quickly realized that that was not going to happen
I genuinely,
and embraced it a bit.
I genuinely feel like there aren't that many black metal bands that you can really take like super seriously anymore. Maybe the extent of like, I genuinely feel like Cannon and Fever, the Noises band, Cannon and Fever are so fucking good. Like an amazingly like heavy, brutal, atmospheric, German band about the First World War, super heavy, super full on. But they kind of get a lot of shit for their live performances. They're very like theatrical. They'll have like a fake fucking snow machine, like blood, smoke, guns. Like it's a whole show.
Mm.
And like you kind of like ride the line. I mean, we spoke about this on the show a couple of weeks ago, but it rides the line of like, is it cool as fuck, or does it trivialize what the core of it's trying to say? I'm on the kind of the former camp. I think it's really fucking cool personally, but I know a lot of people think it's like way overdone.
Um, I think that's probably just comes down to like individual appeal, like, and what are they trying to do with it? What are they trying to convey? Like, I think it'll be less about the theatricalities of it and more about like what are they saying in their lyrics? What are they trying to do? Are they one of these like we're off to war, like glory for the country, blah blah blah, or are they like war is hell?
Kind of a mixture of both, I suppose. Which is kind of not really ideal for the comparison, but I kind of I kind of associate them a little bit with like 1914.
Mm.
But I would say the albums that Noise has done with Cannon and Fever are stronger than Where Fear and Weapons Meet, even though that's an amazing record from 1914. But moreover, it's like if you have something to say, like the music has to speak before the lyrics do. You could have the best lyrics in the world, but if your guitar playing and drums are absolute shit, no one's gonna care.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So that's
Like it all comes together because you can have like fantastic music, and then if your lyrics are cringe as hell, like it loses that as well. I'd say the music definitely has to be the forefront of it. Like you need to have the melody, you need to have the riff, you need to have the like song in place because you can have some cringy lyrics, but if your music's good enough, sometimes you can ignore it if the music is good enough. But
could be worse. You could
sometimes
be
the lyrics are that cringe.
it could be worse. You could be Count Orlok.
He does have to say his name. Oh god, no! Count Orlok, Christ in hell, pretending to be some pure blooded Aryan, bloody master race looking guy with the fakest blonde wig in the world, standing in a cave. Like
Norwegian name.
Norwegian name, Germanic titles,
Yeah.
all of that. I'm like, sorry, mate, you are literally from the middle of bloody England. 15 different bands that all sound the same. All of them are the same, like, bad bosom rip-off music. You're chanting about, like, bloody master races and, like, heathen spirits and stuff like that. And, mate, you are from bloody Leicester. Like, you wouldn't know an Aryan race if it slapped you in the face. Like, you are not, like, if you were going to go transported back to this Third Reich that you are absolutely worshipping, they'd have shot you on sight.
He would have been the first one to go, man.
You would have been on that train faster than you can say Heil. And I'm sorry, like, your whole, like, master race anti-Semitic thing, you are from Leicester. What have the Jewish people ever done to you?
You want to know the worst part about all of this?
Yeah.
The worst part is he was active as of 2021.
Oh, I know. He took a little break. I assumed back then that like his mum had confiscated his recording gear. But yeah, he's come back.
He's younger than I am.
Yeah, like literally, like you. I don't get where this like mindset comes from. And when with having like 1,000 different projects, like what's so profound and deep that you had to make an entirely new band to say this new idea that you had? Oh, I'm sorry, they're all saying the same thing. They all sound the same. You can't You can't just stop.
Yeah.
Just stop. Count Orlok. If you are listening to this podcast, put the guitar down,
Please.
please, for the love of Satan.
I mean,
Put.
you're gonna miss out on some real all-star hits like Black Wintry War, Come,
Oh,
the Wolves, The Dead Travel Fast, and The Forest of Shattered Swords.
you threw a Scrabble tile at a wall.
I need to balance the books. I need to bring up a name that you've heard for a long time and that I try to get away from, but for whatever reason, I kind of get sucked in the vortex surrounding this guy.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Richard Weeks.
I knew you were going to say that.
You knew.
What's he up to now?
Still making music with 15 active projects and 30 that are no longer running. May I introduce you to Gaylord, Jamie Lee Curtis, Okami, She-Ra, Shit Eater, Shrek, Shrug, Slug Crow, Suicide Wraith, The Pope, Thrush, World Controller, War Brother. Noir, it just keeps going. Elk, Discord, Cronenberg, Cock Bastard, Carnivorous Forest, Anti-Theist, Alien Queen, A Congregation of Horn. These are the active bands.
These are the active ones.
These are the active bands.
Does he ever go outside?
I don't think so. But that's the worst part. You've got Coils of Delphine, Iron Thatcher, Redacted.
To be fair, I know that there's like different styles in there. Like I know that they've done like some grindcore ones, like some black metal, some thrash, and stuff.
Yeah.
But that is still far
That's too many.
Like, what's the difference between like Shrek and Alien Queen? Was that one of them? Like,
yeah.
Like,
I mean, I was just there like, okay, fair enough. You know, you have Cock Bastard and Shit Eater. Like, how are these two different?
yeah, that's such a, like, surely they're both going to be some like grindcore or brutal death metal band sort of thing. Like, there's like you could probably take them and like slam them down into about 4 decent projects, because this is the only other thing I think, when you've got this many projects, this many bands going on, how can you really devote your time, your effort, your creativity to them?
You and me, we have a little bit of history with Richard Weeks. We do.
We do.
So essentially, back in 2018, we were both kind of recruited onto the Blackened Death label. It still runs to this day.
Is it?
Well, I mean, as far as I know.
We jumped ship.
Yeah, we did. But there's a reason. There's a reason we jumped ship.
Yeah, we fled to the safe and shallow waters of independent artists.
With Blackened Death in particular, the reason we jumped ship, I think we jumped ship like, what, 6 months in? It wasn't very long.
I think we both released like a single album each on that label.
He does a lot of these like really like left-leaning projects. Like, that's fine. That's your ideology. But it's a massive cover. It all came out 2018. And it was everywhere with this guy. It was fucking everywhere. And the association was a fucking death sentence.
Yeah, we saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, so the fact that literally my Morphine, shout out to Morphine, by the way, the Morphine music, you know, will be in playlists alongside some of the Richard Weeks stuff, and I'm thinking, if you people knew what we knew in 2018, you would have nothing to do with this fucking guy.
Yeah, he was trying to push your projects to help with that cover up.
Oh yeah, like, oh, I'm not one of those people. I've got a trans on my label.
Yeah, he really wanted to use you as like a flag, which was weird in itself.
Yeah, very bizarre.
Like, look at me, I'm the most inclusive label in the UK. Look at this trans artist I've got.
With black metal, it's home to some of the best, most creative music ever. But also some of the worst human beings that have ever walked the earth.
God, yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. When you usually you meet the art, usually quite a while before
yeah,
you find out anything, you'll find yourself listening to a band, really loving the music, listen to a few albums, then you find out something behind it because you'll go into a comment section on YouTube and they're like, you'll be scroll down and like, oh, this person did this, this, and this, and you're just like, for fuck's sake. And then it's down to you at that point to decide whether that's something you can look past or not.
that's the worst part. I mean, hell, in the gaming scene, you had a streamer called Asmongold who made headlines. He was blowing up on socials. He had a massive rant about the Palestinians, saying how the Palestinians deserve what was happening to them. Disgraceful stuff, genuinely, really horrific. Yeah, he got banned from Twitch. I think he's still on YouTube, but he lost his business, his sponsorships. But there is still a rampant army of people saying, "Oh well, that's just his opinion. It doesn't whatever he thinks doesn't affect his his career as a streamer. We should separate those things." And I
It's that
felt like,
line, isn't it? Like between freedom of speech and the idea that people have got yeah, absolutely, everybody's got freedom of speech. If you want to say absolutely horrific things about Palestine, that is your God-given right on this planet.
sure,
But that does not mean there is no freedom from consequence.
exactly.
You can say whatever you like. There will be consequences to your actions.
Yeah, that's the
That
thing.
does not mean that your freedom of speech has been taken away from you because we let you say the stupid shit.
Exactly. It's like, as the old saying goes, you fuck around, you find out.
Yeah, play silly games, win silly prizes.
Exactly. The thing is, I am a genuine believer in the fact that, free speech, anyone say whatever they want. But as you say, there are consequences. If someone goes on a massive racist rant or a transphobic or homophobic rant, like whatever, they're probably a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And guess what? They'll probably be saying things which violate terms of service in the most stringent way. Go on Twitch, go on YouTube, be on a podcast, like whatever. Violate TOS, they get banned. It's as simple as that. Whether you take out efficacy and ethics and everything kind of around that. If you talk like a cunt, you probably won't get very far in any way.
No. That 100%. And that's you still have your freedom of speech.
Oh yeah.
But the platform you are on has its own rules at that point. So that's like, but if you are going to come on somewhere and shout stupid, fucking offensive crap, get what's coming to you.
Exactly. So what goes around comes around. And I feel like we're in the age of the internet now, where everything is clipped, everything's recorded, nothing goes away. The best way to win is not to play. Because the second you broadcast anything that's hateful, anything, whether it's just my opinion, I'm saying what we're all thinking, whatever. If you're stupid enough, for one, to have hateful opinions anyway, but two, stupid enough to bypass that part of your brain that says, I probably shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
And you do that, you deserve everything that's going to happen. 100%.
Yeah, if you have got an overwhelming urge to spout some like ideology that you know is not probably going to fit into a mainstream audience, I mean, that should be your first clue. Like if you think to yourself, if I say this in front of 100 people on a Twitch stream, is it going to go well for me? No, probably not the right thing to say then. But hey, you're like. Again, you are on the internet. If you want to talk about something that's a little bit like outside the mainstream, there's going to be somewhere to do that.
Yeah, of course.
Well, if I want to go spout some like racist, misogynistic ideology crap, I know I just need to go to the back room of a Weatherspoons. There'll be 10 middle-aged single men there who are all wanting to hear that.
No, I mean, not that you would.
Not that I would, but I'd know where to go.
Let's make sure that.
Let's clarify this. I do not want to do this.
No, but
I would just know where to go because I've been in a Weatherspoons before and heard them.
Or, go and stand behind a Waffle House and hope you don't
Yeah.
get punched.
And if I want to talk about some weird Rule 34 thing, I know there's a Reddit forum for that.
Oh, God. There used to be Tumblr for shit like that. I think they clamped down on all that shit.
Yeah, I seem to remember there being an outrage a few years ago for Tumblr changing the rules.
Thankfully, not my scene, so there you
Yeah,
go.
I can also, I don't think I really know anything on Tumblr.
I'd be lying if I said I did, to be honest with you. That's just because I'm old. Like, I'm 26. I don't care what TikTok is. I'm fucking old, okay?
Don't come at me with the old thing.
You're like 2 years older than I am, man.
I'm 30 in a few months.
Yeah, a few months. You got 3 years on me.
Yeah, I already feel like I should be looking at my pension.
We dyeing the greys out of your hair next week.
No, you're joking. Like honestly, the missus has found Grace.
Yeah, I've gone
Like already,
grey.
my time is coming. Like if I make it to 35 without needing to be followed by a nurse, I'll be considering myself to do really well.
You and me, we can't do a show together without talking Abandoned by Light.
Oh, if we must.
Of course we must.
Oh dear.
The Great Scroll demands it.
The Great Scroll of Topics has demanded that we move on. Yes, Abandoned by Light.
The worst part is it's not even on the running order. It is now.
We're winging it. Yeah, so now Abandoned by Light, my black metal project. After slamming every other person's band, let's talk about mine.
Talk us through Abandoned by Light. For one, where did the name come from?
Well, it started back like God, 11 years ago. Christ in hell. Yeah, like I've been in like some like more like hard rock metal bands, and then got into black metal. Realized that none of the people I was playing with had any real interest in it, so I decided to just go off and do my own. Initially, it was called Perpetua. I put out a bunch of really bad demos.
They were good, man.
Thank you. Like I've got a very like love-hate relationship with my own discography.
But I feel like if you ask any artist what they made 5 years ago, they'll probably slate it.
Mm.
Like I'm kind of the same. Like if someone said to me, like, "Oh, I like Morphine Dysphoria." Check the show notes, people. I like Morphine Dysphoria. Would you recommend the early Morphine? I'd be like, no, don't listen to it. If you like that record, don't listen to Vile, don't listen to Her, don't listen to Trauma. Like you can skip those ones.
See, I like all of them. So, which is kind of just illustrating the point you're making.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, but Abandoned by Light, the name just sort of came to me. Initially, when I started the project, it was more in the reign of DSBM, like quite unhappy music, reflecting my mindset at the time. So I decided I did not like the name Perpetua anymore. So I went one night just walking, and the name came to me, Abandoned by Light, and it was a sort of representation at the time of the mindset I was having, which is music to the soundtrack of somebody who has not really got any light left. Like, yeah, hope, light, faith, happiness, all of it's gone.
Well, you were in a very dark place like 10 years ago. I mean, I've known you for 10 years at this point.
I was head above water, sort of thing back then, like not doing very well, very depressed, and the music reflected that, and the super sad, edgy teenage emo lyrics of the demos reflect that, which I can't look back on now.
But they were good. I mean, the first Abandoned by Light song I ever heard was the Eye of a Slipknot.
Oh God!
And most of that song is clear.
Have you listened to more of that?
Yeah.
That demo, like,
okay, it's been literally like 9 years since I heard it. I know which demo it was from. It was from This Is Where It Ends.
Yeah. Yeah, because all of that.
My head 9 years later.
To go with the sort of God, you can hear me playing on that because I used to record by just putting a laptop in front of an amp. Like no interface, no cables, no nothing. I just put the laptop in front of the amp, hit record, and played at it. So you can literally hear me playing the strings on that demo.
But I kind of like the
Especially.
rawness of that, though. I
I
mean,
mean, they're
now,
honest.
what about the other song, the other big song from that demo? I am not me, I am not them. That's basically mostly clean. That's one of the only songs with you have clean vocals.
Yeah, I have no idea. I can't remember why I decided to go clean with some of the songs on that demo. I was under no illusion that I can sing, so I have no idea why I thought that for that one. Because yeah, it wouldn't be until like 10 years later that I'd sing again.
You kind of did the Mikhail Ackerfeld kind of like backing vocals for "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night." It was like the kind of chorus behind the kind of harsh vocals, right? Or was it earlier than that?
I think I did it on that album, but the album before I did a Celtic Frost cover.
Yes, a god coming into
Oh
human
no,
flesh.
no, it's on the same album. Is
Oh,
it? I'm getting my albums muddled up. Was it on that album I did the cover?
I'm pretty sure it's on that record. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on that album. It's on I forgot what the album's called now. Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. Yeah,
Yes.
it's literally called the name of the. Yeah,
The one
you said it.
The one before "Dream of a Cosmic Death" Part 1 from last Halloween. That's coming up on nearly a year old.
Yes, it is.
Where's Part 2?
Part 2, I've got a basis for. Like lyrically, it's done. I've got some. Well, not all done, but like most of it's written. I've got some ideas, but Abandon My Light taking a slight sideline this year, like mostly because I've been finishing up on the book and
Of course.
like it's been like my personal life has got in the way of stuff this year. Like there's been a bunch of things happening that have like pushed a lot of other projects to the side. But Abandon My Light will come back. It is definitely not on hiatus or dead and buried. I'm pretty sure that I'll be still doing this project in a care home somewhere in years to come. But yeah, part 2 will be the next release. But I want to try and change it up from that last album because there's things on that album I'm happy with, and then there's things that I'd like to work on.
Because what I liked about the most recent one, so check the show notes, people. Dreams of a Cosmic Death Part 1. Very, very heavily Cthulhu, very Lovecraftian.
Yes.
Very
because I was working
so.
on that album around the same time I started doing like the short stories. Like it all links together. This interweb of the show, it all comes back.
There you go. See.
But yeah, so yeah, I started working on the album around the same time I started writing the stories. At one point, I was going to like have them the same thing. Like I had this idea of each track would match with a story I was writing, but then I thought that was a very self-indulgent idea and buried that quite quickly. But yeah, the album is Lovecraftian inspired. Like there's samples from stories. There's lyrically inspired things happening. Like I tried to capture a little bit more of a chaotic sound on some of the songs to sort of match where I was going, like as best as I could. Like I'm not super well versed with like musical theory stuff like that, so I couldn't take like different like scales and stuff the way like another artist might have been able to. But I tried to bring that sense to it.
I think it's definitely the heaviest album that you've done.
I'd probably go with that. Yeah, like it's very
either that or Alga Mortis, but like honestly, ask me on a different day, and I might, the answer might change.
I'd say this one's probably heavier than Algor. Like Algor's got some heavier like moments and tracks, but I'd think this album probably is heavier as a whole. Like it's got some quite like riffy sections to it for a black metal.
Because see, I always come not one of those records, but I always come back to "And Here I Stand" with trepidation.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that song. That's one of the.
I remember the first time I heard Trepidation. I remember where we were even. We were in Sheffield.
Oh, yeah, probably
Yeah,
played it to you.
we were very drunk and beside ourselves on sat on the hill,
Yeah.
couple of 10 packs of Stella down. No, did we go? Was it the Dove and Rainbow we went to? That's not around anymore. That place, is it? It can't be.
No, and that's a shame. That was a good place.
That's brutal. And we were in a
But no,
hit.
it'll be one of those. Been one place or the other. Probably the hill if I was showing you some music because that pub always had stuff playing. It wouldn't have been the best spot for like
Well,
showing any music. But yeah, no, that Trepidation is still one of the songs like I'm quite proud of. Like I said before, I've got very mixed feelings of most of my discography. Like there's tracks that I'm happy with as opposed to albums for the most part. Apart from a couple, there's a couple of like Al Gore. I'm quite happy with.
well, I think you're just a very modest man in general.
Well, thank you. I'd say it'd probably be more critical, but
I think you're too hard on yourself.
I think most musicians are.
I think we have to be. Like
Yeah.
if you asked me like what my best song is, I would say probably something off that first Ghost CP.
That Go CP is great.
Like I'm still actually the podcast song again. Check the show notes, people. The podcast intro song is the intro from Baptized in the Light from Ghost and Gold. There you go.
Oh, that's awesome.
That intro was good, and I never wrote anything as catchy as that again.
I think like most people who do any form of art are like usually very self-critical because that's how you end up pushing yourself to do it when you're doing your next thing is like you self-analyze and whether you're right or not you'll pick out the flaws that you perceive in music that you or music or writing or painting or whatever it is that you want to then improve on in the future.
Yeah, I mean, even like a professional sense, like even in like my career, if you could even call it that, my series of lucky breaks that have lasted they lasted 5 years now. But in my career, so I've got about 1,500 official bylines to my name, and I'll write something. I mean, I haven't not that I write anymore. I mostly do like sub editing, content analysis, gap analysis, a lot of spreadsheets. But when I used to be a writer, it was kind of like, I would see, I'd write one article, I'd be like, okay, this is poor. And I can go back to 2021 and I can look at where I'm at now and be like, okay, I couldn't write very well 4 years ago, even though I was doing it professionally. And now it's like I'm a step above that. But I'm still not where I want to be. And I probably, unless I either get demoted and become a writer again, when there's no real money in editorials, to be honest, but there's no ceiling for it anymore, Versus like when you're a musician, like I know if I pick up the guitar behind me and I play some stuff and I jam for a couple of weeks, I'll probably write an album that's better than Dysphoria. But no one will listen to it.
Yeah.
Because nobody cares after that one.
Yeah, that one did get you some like there was a good bit of attention on that one.
It still is.
Mm.
It's the only fucking album that got any attention. Ironically, the one that came after Visibility, fucking no one listened to it.
It's just the way I think, especially with modern things now, like there's so much music.
Yeah.
Like it's ironic to like complain about because started out doing this the one thing that I like I'll bemoan, which is that anybody now can write, anybody can record, anybody can release music. Before like 20 years ago, you had to like you could like self-release a little bit. You could go out, you could buy like a tape deck or something like that, and you could record your own stuff and give it to your mates and like that. But not you couldn't have like the access that you do now unless you were like trading with other people.
Yeah.
But now anybody can record, make a Bandcamp account, release everything. Like which is like I say, it's ironic to be bemoaning it because that's literally what I did when I got started. But now you'll get the people with the 20 projects who are releasing a new thing every week. You'll get the musicians who will release every thought that comes to them without any quality control or anything of the sort. They'll hit a note, go, that's riff one, that's riff two, that's a song, boom, that's out. People can't like swim through the like oceans of music that is coming out every day. So you
Yeah.
might be that flash in the pan artist who gets like a good bit of attention for like one album, and then you're lost.
Yeah, and I genuinely like I feel like that's kind of why I made the decision to kill off morphine when I did. And it's like it wasn't because oh I'm not having fun now or whatever. It was more so like I did two entire fucking records after that gained no traction.
Mm.
And it's not like oh and like people have to hear it like that's part of it, but it fucking helps, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we started like last week, we made a podcast, we made a first video. We've been like getting creative again. And I got 1,000 hits off of one video on a channel that hadn't been around for 8 fucking years. Meanwhile, I think Ghosts in Gold has done that in 5. You see what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if you go to like my Facebook page for Abandoned, I think 5, 6, maybe even like 7 years ago, I hit 1,000 likes on that page. I think in the 7 years since then, I might have had like another 200. I think most of the music I release probably gets less than 100 listens.
God.
It's never been something that's like picked up. It's never been something that's gone anywhere. It's never been something that I'm going to be able to like turn into anything beyond what it is, which is just a, a release for me, an avenue for that level, that creativity that goes into that music. It's why probably why like I've never really done much in the way of other projects. Like I had Nocturnal Ritual.
Great band.
Yeah, I was very proud of that. And that was another little avenue, but that was with someone else. That was, I know we could do with that style there, but Abandon My Life for me is just where it's my musical dump, as it were. Like any avenues of musical creativity I've got will go into that project because it's not really for anything other than me to listen to myself afterwards, me to make the music I want to make. And if anybody wants to go onto Bandcamp and buy an album or stream it, fantastic, knock yourself out. But I'm never going to expect it to become anything more than that. If it does, then amazing. I'm not going to begrudge it. If I woke up tomorrow and found it got like 1,000 streams overnight because of some like happenstance miracle, I will celebrate. But I'm not holding my breath.
I think that's the worst part. It's like a lot of maybe like where a little bit of my resentment comes from with like Orlok and Richard Weeks and people like that. It's like you say, for me, Morphine was flash in the pan. I think that's fair to say. No one really cared about it. Dysphoria came out, and no one really cared about it afterwards. But that one
It
album,
sucks. It sucks when you are somebody who puts in time and effort and you nurture something that you really create, like not create, something that you really like are proud of, you care about, that you've worked hard on, for it to just dissipate. Especially if you've had like that bit of attention before on it, like, and you're like, oh, it'll be fantastic. Like, people are going to get a chance to listen to this. Like, I can't wait to see what people think of this thing that I've poured myself into. Oh, nobody gave a fuck.
well, that's it. Every 2 years for me, it was okay. Back to the well. I personally feel like Visibility and Dysphoria Part 2 are better albums. But it doesn't fucking matter because no one heard them.
No, I'd agree that I think that they're better. I think that the last couple of things you've done have been like the best of your work. I'd say that, and I think it sucks that people haven't heard it. Like, I think it is a shame that it didn't get the attention because it deserved it. But I think that is the pitfall with modern music. Like it's a double edged sword. It's given the change has given people chance like people like me and you to go and make music,
It's true.
which we might not have had the opportunity to do 20 years ago when you
No,
had to go and you had to have the studio, you had to have the label, you had to have all of that. Whereas now you can release it yourself, and if a label wants you, fantastic. Like so, like I say, it's a double edged sword. We've got that chance, but so does everyone. And
it's
so
kind.
you have got to try and get your head above the water,
It's
which
kind
is
of
difficult.
yeah. It's kind of like the rise of like civilian journalism. How that kind of killed off traditional journalism.
Yeah, it's everything is becoming available to everyone. Like even so far, like I've published a book through Amazon. Like I would have had to have sent it out to publishers 10 years ago. I would have had to. I'd have had to have sent it out to publishers, and one of them would have had to have liked it. I'd have probably had to pay to have a bunch of things done, and then after all that, my book would have come out.
That's the route that I went down.
Yeah, and that's the route that I was going to go down, and then just changed my mind, probably through like impatience or something, to be honest, or like just a fear of rejection. Really, probably more than anything, if I'm honest with myself. But
either rejection or like censorship, because
yeah,
with a lot of again, I can't go too into this because I have a book deal. I'm writing a book, but some publishers, you can hand them a manuscript. If it's a manuscript, like effectively is like the book,
yeah,
but check your contracts because not in my case, but I've heard horror stories from friends who have published authors, and sometimes the publisher can have final say. They'll do a final sub edit. Maybe they'll change the title. Maybe they'll change the cover. Maybe they'll change X and Y. They'll take out certain. If it's a narrative, they could change certain scenes. And you go,
mm.
okay, well, if I self pub it, warts and all, that's
Well,
my story. No one
when I
can
was looking
take
at
that away from me.
a lot of publishers didn't want short stories. A lot of them didn't want this and that. Like, thankfully, like my story is not really my stories aren't really people focused. So there's not a lot of the things that people are like worried about. Like, there's no essay or anything like that in any of them, obviously, because that's not that type of story. But that's like the sort of thing that I was seeing get censored a lot. And obviously, like, fair enough. Like, people don't want that on their publishing house. That's not what they're about. Fair enough. But a lot of them just didn't want short stories,
Yeah.
which is what one of the things that like pushed me towards just going through Amazon. But again, back to the sort of like idea, like that is another thing. Like when you look at the screen for me, like as a like publisher thing, of like, this book is number 5,970 in horror. This book is number 12,600. Blah 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 blah. And obviously, like there's a lot of books out there in general, but there's also now anybody can publish if anybody wants to write. And again, that's fantastic. I've had the opportunity to publish, but you are also now in a market where there is more competition than ever because it's suddenly open to everyone,
I heard an ex-
including Billy, who publishes 10 AI books.
I heard an expression fairly a fair while ago that said, "Once upon a time, with the creatives, you were you were a ship in a bottle floating in the sea, and it was about being lucky enough to be found and to be taken and to be, given an opportunity.
Hmm.
But now, it's not a ship in a bottle or a message in a bottle in the sea. It's a message in a bottle in a sea made of bottles, a
Yeah,
sea upon seas.
yeah.
There's overexposure to everything, and also, not to sound old, but people's attention spans, they're not what they used to be. I feel like since
No,
the
they're not at all.
pandemic, we've
No.
moved towards short form content. Like most people nowadays, will be on their phones. They won't be like listening to anything long form. They might be doom scrolling Twitter, doom scrolling TikTok, stuck on Instagram Reels, Facebook Lives, whatever, just flicking through. And that's it.
Yeah.
5 seconds, 4 seconds to get someone's attention. You're competing not only against an overexposure, basically everything like music, movies, like anyone can be everything. But if anyone can be everything, then it kind of takes away like the individuality of it. You become in the way of trying to become part of a zeitgeist, you become part of a problem in a way because you
Yeah.
add to the issue while trying to
Yeah.
be
Like,
individualist.
the fact whilst bemoaning the fact that there's more musicians than ever and more authors than ever, we are simultaneously taking advantage of the fact that there's more musicians and more authors than ever by throwing our own hats into the ring.
Exactly. So it's the self-eating snake. It's the
The
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros
Yeah,
of content.
and that's it. I mean, the journalism industry, it's dying a death. It's very sad, and that's the problem. I mean, the rise of AI, problematic as fuck, killing art, killing photography, killing music now. A lot of
Yeah,
music is AI generated.
it's going to be that thing, AI, I imagine, where like it's going to rule the roost for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's going to like really stretch its hold, and then there's going to be a big clap down when people will relish it in all like the things that it can do until it's a little bit too late, and then they'll go shit and realize that it's kind of killed everything.
How does that one quote in Jurassic Park go? You spent so much time wondering if you
Wondering if you
could.
could, you never stop to think if you should.
That's where we're at. We're at the turning point now, the precipice.
Yeah, it's like AI can generate photos, AI can write, AI can create music, AI can edit this, AI can formulate that. But why? Oh, the only reason I can come up with is because it's cheaper.
It's cheaper and it saves the money man a couple of dollars, a couple of pennies
Yeah,
on the
it's
dollar.
cheaper and it's faster.
That's it.
And then there's
It's
going to
the
be a
rise of
massive death of the arts.
yeah.
And we're going to go, oh, well, why? And then there'll be the 1,000 people who'll turn around and go, well, I've said all along that AI was going to be the worst of this. Like, sorry, Sharon, haven't you done like 10 AI paintings? Isn't your cover on Facebook AI? That's besides the point.
There you go.
Everybody's got perfect hindsight.
We've literally been building Skynet for like the past year, 2
Yeah.
years.
Not worrying about the literal like 10 film series that told us exactly why we shouldn't build Skynet.
Look at Tesla, look at Nvidia, like the rise of emerging tech, big AI is fucking scary. And not only is it going to effectively be a part of our lives and take over a lot of things, but to be completely honest, automation's going to happen. AI powered robots eventually, they're going to take over shop work, menial work, chef
Yeah.
work. Human beings will be out of a job. That will,
Yeah.
of course, be terrible. But as well, you have these billionaires and these multimillionaires telling people, don't learn how to code. AI will take your job. Don't learn how to paint. Mid-Journey will take your job. Don't learn how to play guitar. There's a program that can do that for you.
Yeah. Like
So everything
anything that
ends up.
you can, it will be that thing. Anything you can do, AI can do it better.
Is there any kind of closing words you've got for the people at home?
Um, Listen to my music, buy my book, help, please,
Couldn't have said it better myself.
and don't go for any of the AI stuff.
Yeah, don't do that.
Humans will do it better.
There you
There's
go.
actual emotion in it, and thought and feeling.
And stay away from Count Orlok.
Yes, and stay away from Count fucking Orlok and Richard Weeks.
Good night, people.